Tonight, when darkness arrives, you'll reach over and hit a switch. The room lights up instantly, and you don't think about it for even a second. But throughout 99.9% of human existence, that switch simply wasn't there. When night fell, everything disappeared into blackness. You couldn't make out your own hand directly in front of you. Yet this is something most people today will never truly experience. For more than 300,000 years, every ancestor you've ever had spent nearly half their entire life in almost complete darkness. Candles didn't exist for most of that period, just the open night sky, distant stars, and whatever flame they managed to keep burning. So what were they actually doing during all those hours? The answer reshapes everything we think we understand about sleep, storytelling, and what it genuinely means to be human. Fire is where this story begins, because without it, nothing else was possible. The oldest reliable proof of humans controlling fire comes from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, around 1 million years ago. But fire wasn't only about staying warm. It completely transformed how humans organized their days. Before fire, our ancestors behaved exactly like every other primate on Earth. Once the sun disappeared, you found a tree or a sheltered corner and you stayed completely still. Nighttime movement meant becoming something's meal. Human vision in darkness is no match for the animals that hunted us. Leopards, hyenas, wolves, all of them saw perfectly well in conditions where we were essentially blind. Fire rewrote that situation overnight. A campfire produces a protected zone of roughly 30 feet. Inside that zone, predators stay back. Beyond it, you don't survive. Researchers studying present-day hunter-gatherer communities have confirmed that individuals who drift away from the fire after dark face dramatically higher chances of predator attacks, even now. But the most significant thing fire delivered wasn't protection. It gave humans something they had never possessed before: extra time. Before fire, the usable day ended when the sun went down. In summer that meant around 12 hours. In winter, sometimes only 8. Fire added 2 to 4 productive hours to every single day. Across thousands of generations, those extra hours quietly transformed our entire species. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner published research in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. She had spent years documenting conversations among the Jew/Hoansi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last communities on Earth still living close to the original human pattern. What she discovered was striking. During daylight hours, around 80% of all talk was practical: who hunts where, which plants are ripe, everyday disputes and planning. Daytime conversation was essentially work. But once night arrived and people gathered around the fire, everything changed completely. 81% of nighttime conversations were stories. Tales of distant people, great adventures, myths explaining the world, jokes that had the whole group laughing together. Wiesner concluded that firelight conversation was where human culture was actually born. That campfire was the first stage, the first classroom, the first place of shared meaning. It's where humans learn to think past the immediate moment and picture things that hadn't happened yet. It's where we became who we are. But storytelling wasn't the only thing the night contained. Something else was happening, something researchers only uncovered within the last 30 years. You were not built to sleep the way you currently sleep. In 2001, historian Roger Ikirch released findings that permanently altered sleep science. After 16 years of studying historical documents, he uncovered something no one had anticipated: over 500 references spread across centuries of records. Prayer books from the 1400s. Court documents. Private diaries. Medical writings. Personal letters. Even passages inside Homer's Odyssey. Every single one described the same thing: first sleep and second sleep. Before the industrial era, human beings did not sleep in one continuous stretch. They would go to bed shortly after sunset, sleep for around 4 hours, then wake up. They would remain awake for 1 to 2 hours in the middle of the night, then return to sleep for another 4 hours until morning. This was not a sleeping problem. This was completely normal. This was how every person on the planet slept for thousands of years. And what did they do during that middle window? Everything. A French doctor in the 1500s recommended that couples who wanted children should do so during this time. People visited neighbors. They processed their dreams while the images were still clear. They wrote. They simply lay quietly in the darkness and let their thoughts move freely. A medical guide from that same era told readers the ideal time for deep thinking and quiet study was during the watch, those still hours between first and second sleep when the mind was sharp and the world was completely silent. Historians had encountered these references for centuries but kept misreading them, because the idea that humans once slept differently seemed impossible. That assumption ran so deep that translators actually altered ancient Greek and medieval Latin texts to match their own modern sleep experience. Then science confirmed what history had been recording the entire time. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Ware at the National Institute of Mental Health ran a controlled experiment. He removed all artificial light from a group of volunteers for 1 full month. They experienced 14 hours of darkness every night, mirroring the conditions of our ancestors. Within weeks, without any instruction, every single participant fell into the same pattern: 4 hours of sleep, 1 to 3 hours of quiet wakefulness, then 4 more hours of sleep. Their bodies simply did it on their own, as though an ancient internal program had been sitting dormant inside them, waiting for the light to disappear. Ware then measured hormone levels during the waking window and found something unexpected. Participants were in a state unlike any normal waking condition. Their brains were generating elevated prolactin, the same hormone produced during meditation. They described feeling calm, reflective, deeply at peace. This wasn't just a gap in the night. It was a distinct state of human consciousness that most people alive today have never once experienced. So what ended it? Simply light. In the 1600s, cities started installing street lamps. Paris came first under Louis XIV. London followed. Night slowly became navigable. Cheaper candles arrived, then gas lamps in the 1800s, then Edison's electric bulb in 1879. Within one generation, the night humans had lived inside for 300,000 years was gone. Today the average person is exposed to artificial light 7 to 8 hours past sunset. That light, especially blue light from screens, blocks melatonin production, the hormone that controls sleep. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a screen and sunlight. Light hitting your eyes at 11 at night signals daytime to your brain. Sleep fragments. Your body's rhythm, built over millions of years, gets pushed out of alignment. Researchers found that just 1 week of camping with zero artificial light resets the melatonin cycle by nearly 2 hours. 1 week. That's how quickly 300,000 years of programming returns. We didn't just shift our sleep schedule. We erased an entire layer of human consciousness. That quiet, meditative state between first and second sleep no longer exists for most people. Instead we have insomnia, and we call it a disorder. But what if it isn't? What if waking at 2 in the morning and lying still in the dark isn't your body failing? What if it's your body remembering exactly what it was made to do? For 300,000 years, your ancestors moved through the night in a rhythm modern science is only now beginning to understand. They sat around fires and shared stories that built entire civilizations. They slept in 2 phases with a quiet, reflective window between them. They lived beneath a darkness so total that the Milky Way was simply the sky, not a destination you drove hours to see. And every night, waking in that stillness between first and second sleep, they lay in silence and thought about their lives, their dreams, and the morning ahead. We gave all of that up for a light switch. And almost none of us ever knew what we lost.